Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. May I say a very good morning to the Deputy Chair of Council, Mr. Ngubani, members of the Senior Appointments Committee of Council, members of the UWC Executive, deans, the SRC Acting President, fellow colleagues and students, and to everybody that's online, a very warm welcome to you. We are here this morning. We are at stage 13 of a 16-stage process in which we are recruiting a new dean for the Faculty of Community and Health Sciences at the University of the Western Cape. We have 3 presentations scheduled this morning of candidates who have been shortlisted and who have been approved by Senate and all the necessary stakeholders. All candidates will be making a 30-minute presentation to you on the topic with reference to the UWC Institutional Operating Plan 2021 to 25, provide your vision for the faculty and strategies that you will employ to realize your vision. As the candidates make their presentations, I'd like to ask you to please note any questions that you may have for them. Questions are to be emailed to registrar, registrar, at uwc.ac.za, and you may post questions until 11:50. We have noted requests from the campus community about the process for allowing questions. SACC had made this decision having reflected on its previous experiences. Unfortunately, there was no opportunity for SACC to convene to alter the process, but the process we are following today is the process as was presented at Senate and with other stakeholders in the build-up to today. So I'd like to ask you to please note your questions and to email them. In this way, at least we can be assured that everybody who wants to ask a question will have an opportunity to send it through. With those opening remarks, I think we are ready for our first candidate. Tamima? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask you to please put your hands together and bid a very warm University of the Western Cape welcome to Professor Michelle Glenda Andy Patton Botha. Prof. Andy Patton is currently the Deputy Dean of Research and Professor of Psychology at this university. Over to you, Prof. Andy Patton. You have 30 minutes strictly. The timekeepers are right in front here. They will give you 15, 10, 5, and 1 minute warnings, and we will stop you if you haven't finished at the end of 30 minutes. Best wishes.
Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity. It's really, really an honor and a privilege for me to be here today. Seeing Mersha sitting in the front here and being one of the timekeepers, I have to stick to my time because Mersha does not play with you. So, yeah, really, really great to be here, colleagues, and the PowerPoint will tell you what the talk is all about this morning, and it really is about our IOP and how that plays into our vision and the vision that I see for our faculty. I have been part of the faculty as the Deputy Dean of Research since 2020. So what you're going to see today really is part of what I've also been developing over time. So let me move on. So just a bit about who I am. I brought my own printouts because I saw the technological glitches yesterday and I didn't want that to happen again. So I've been at UWC since 1983 as a student and 1987 as a staff member. And this university has really served me well and provided a very good training ground for me to become the academic and the leader that I am today. This training ground was not always easy, very tumultuous at times, but it provided me with a solid understanding of what is needed to guide our faculty in a continuously changing world, so that hashtag no one is left behind. And that, you all know, is embedded within the SDGs. We are facing unprecedented challenges, psychosocial, economic, geopolitical, environmental, driven by accelerating globalization and a faster rate of technological development simultaneously. But those forces are also providing us with a myriad of new opportunities for human advancement. The future is once again unpredictable, uncertain, but we have to be ready and open for those challenges so that we can take particularly our faculty forward. Let me just move on. Just a bit of a timeline of my time at UWC. As I said, I started in 1983. I was appointed in the psychology department in 1987, and a defining moment in my life at UWC happened in 1989. And I'll speak a little bit about that later because it shaped my understanding of community and health. In 2000 to 2002, I served as the Deputy HOD of Psychology. 2013 to 2016, I was the head of psychology, and that was the fees must fall era. 2018 to 2020, I was the Deputy HOD of Psychology, and 2020, full professor, and then also the Deputy Dean of Research within Psychology. So, when I think about health, it's something that I'm so passionate about, and it's not something that I do, it's who I am. I started my career as a trainee medical technologist, and after having to sit in front of a microscope for 24/7, I realized this is not me. I want to be with people, and that's when I came to study. So in 1989, in the psychology department, we started the Psychology Resource Center. And that center was based on a group of women from Bishop Lavis who came to the university and said, we have a particular need. We have some students that we have to care for, we educate workers, but we don't understand how to deal with children who are difficult. And as a department, we then decided to respond, and we developed training manuals and training courses for these ECD care workers. At the end of the day, when we worked with them, we realized that the knowledge and the reality was so different to the courses that we were teaching, that at the end of the day, we realized there were big knowledge gaps within our discipline, within our corpus of knowledge, and we saw how Eurocentric our training in psychology actually was. What we then did was to co-create a knowledge base with the people that we were working with, and it culminated in a textbook which we wrote called Contemporary Issues in Human Development. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and Prof. Levak speaks to our scholarship of engagement for societal impact, because that information was formalized into our curriculum. It wasn't just us going out there to teach content, but it was actually the work that we did out there informed what we were doing and what we were teaching. And the students could relate to those realities because it mirrored and reflected their own realities. So let's look at how I would, before I get to that, let me just say this. Our faculty is a phenomenal faculty. I come from a vibrant, from a dynamic, and a constantly changing faculty. And this morning, as I was sitting and going through this, I almost felt, is this not obsolete? Because the information I started preparing and the information I received yesterday, there was new information. So things are changing all the time, and we have to stay abreast of the changes. So we are a faculty where we offer professional undergraduate training, professional degrees to our undergraduate studies. And so we are regulated by many professional bodies, by many professional boards, all of them different, not all the same, depending on the discipline that you come from. So we're accountable to many, many different structures, which can also add to the complexity of what we do. Then I just want to talk very quickly about the context of higher education that we're finding ourselves within, because that is changing, that is shifting all the time, and I think all of you are aware of it. We face some very, very critical decisions that we have to make shortly. And my own view is, if we're not going to become more skills-based as an institution, we could very well, or not just UWC, but as universities in the future, we could actually become obsolete. If one looks at technology and where we're moving to, if we look at the spaces, the AR, the VR spaces, the AI that we're all confronted with at this particular point, if we are not going to change our modus operandi and how we do things, we run the risk of becoming obsolete. Talk to any young person today. They don't want to sit in a classroom for 4 or 5 years. They want something now, quick fix. Yesterday I saw another document where, and this reminded me, I think it was around about 2002 with Professor Brian O'Connell, when they wanted UWC to merge with CPUT, and the fight that we had to fight to make sure that we remained independent of CPUT. We're again facing challenges where we have to look at how universities are going to be defined. Are we going to be research-led? Are we going to be teaching institutions? And if we say we are going to be research-led, what does that mean for us in terms of our offerings and in terms of our outputs? Because that's going to be also monitored very, very closely. So these are the kinds of things that we are being faced with constantly and currently, and we have to respond so that we are not left behind. Then technology, AI, VR. Those are issues that are here. They are in our faces. Sometimes I've sat in multiple interviews the last while, and I listened to colleagues from different institutions, and we're all at the same place. We're all saying we're looking for guidelines. We're wanting to understand how we can do this, what is going to guide us so that we can use the technology morally and ethically. So that becomes very, very important. So in our faculty, we are starting to engage. Some departments are further than others, and I'll talk about that shortly. But at the end of the day, it's something we're going to have to embrace. Being a health sciences and a faculty where we work with communities also has very, very important implications and ramifications for us. But one of my passions and one of the disciplines in our faculty is our School of Natural Medicine. Medicine and health and healing really falls in a continuum from acute care to holistic care. And I think as a faculty, we are responding to all of it, but I think there's a lot more that we can do with regards to certain areas. Because we are at the stage where we have all these technological advances, but humanity is actually the sickest that we've ever been. We just need to look around at how ill people are currently getting. So having said that, let me just briefly share my vision and my mission with you. So as a faculty, as we are a research-led faculty, we aim to catalyze societal transformation through synthesizing academic rigor, indigenous knowledge systems, community-rooted praxis, dismantling oppressive structures, and pioneering equitable pathways that empower holistic flourishing for all. So you can really extrapolate the key words that are important in what we do and how we do things in our faculty. The mission, we are unashamedly and unapologetically, we embed what we do within a social justice paradigm, drawing on very decolonial frameworks in how we see things and how we do things. So within a social justice paradigm, embedding itself within the Sustainable Development Goals, our faculty offers an engaged, participatory, and connected research and learning environment that not only strives for academic excellence, but prepares our graduates for the new digital world of work, but also through co-creative practices, design thinking, leadership at all levels, innovative, collaborative, interprofessional approaches locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. And colleagues, what I want you to realize, what we do and what underpins what we do are our partnerships and our stakeholders. And that is key for our faculty as we are involved with departments of health. We've now just received invitations from Department of Science and Innovation. So our stakeholders are important collaborators in terms of what we do. sorry, that was the mission. I forgot to move the slide. And then just our IOP goals, which all of you are familiar with. What I've always also just highlighted for you are our different aspects within the IOP with regards to learning and teaching, which is our first goal area, and I'll speak to some of these issues, how we've addressed things and what are important to us within our faculty. So our vision in our faculty, and my vision, always is around our students. The students are the heart of what we do. So our student voices matter. And after many years of really struggling with our previous Deputy Dean of Learning and Teaching and our new Deputy Dean of Learning and Teaching, we've now finally constituted our student council. And I attended one of their meetings last week, and there were only 2 of them available that participated. And the one thing that I think is important to drive is for us to inculcate in our students the importance of their voice, but the importance of their participation in ensuring that their voices are heard at the end of the day. So that's something that we have to pay carefully attention to so that we ensure that our student voices are important and what they say carries weight. Then we are provide fun and growth promoting experiences for our students, and that can be, sorry, Prof. Path, is there some water? Yes. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Colleagues, I'm recovering from flu, so I just have a bit of a sore throat, so just excuse me. So last week, Friday, we had the World Leisure Day on campus outside the Student Center, and that was a fun activity for students to engage in where they could participate, they could connect, and I think that's very important for our students, a sense of belonging and a sense of connectedness. And with social media, it's so easy for us to lose ourselves and to lose our connections to each other, and that's something that I hold very dear, our human connectedness, and that's something I will always strive to maintain irrespective of where I find myself. Then we provide our students with support, mentoring support, counseling support, because we would like our students to thrive and to flourish in the environments that they find themselves in. And I'll share some of the feedback that we found with our students who have gone through some of these programs, that have joined in with the mentoring programs. Then something that I was tasked to do at the beginning of COVID was to see to staff wellness and health. And last year I wrote a blog for our staff in the faculty, and the PR person that was distributing the blog said, "Prof, don't you want to write something for our students as well?" And I thought, let me just do this. So now it's become part of what I do. Once a term, I'll write a little health blog for the students, which ties into their needs and where they're at, that they have a little bit of resource and something to go back to where they could perhaps look. The last one I did was on time management and look at what I can do if I'm struggling to manage my time. Let me just move on. I forget about you guys here. Then what's also very important in our faculty, our students go to clinical placements and to hospital placements, and so they use transport. Safety is a huge issue, and in our Manco Pulse checks, we often hear about problems that are experienced when students have to travel back and forth. So we have to have our finger on the pulse and make sure that our students are aware of safety issues and that our transport vendors are on top of what they are doing to ensure the safety of our students. But safety is not just about transport, it's about gender-based violence, which we know is a huge issue in our communities. And last year we had a very successful symposium on gender-based violence where we had community participation, we had our students, we had academics, and we had an international organization with us. People shared very personal stories, and the processes were so healing at the end of the day, and that's something that I would like to continue, because we need to provide spaces for our students and our staff and our community people to be able to heal. The healing spaces are very, very important. Then, colleagues, at the postgraduate level, I did a needs assessment of our postgraduate students to see where they're at and what their pressing needs are. And the theme that came out very, very strongly was how they feel lonely. They tell you that postgraduate studies is a lonely journey. They feel that there isn't a sense of belonging, particularly the students who are engaged in full master's thesis or in PhDs. So myself and the learning and teaching specialist, we are now setting up what we call community of practices for our students, where we get students to interact, where we get students to support each other in their endeavors. We did research many years ago around peer support, and when students were asked, who's the first port of call, who will you go to for assistance if you have a problem? They didn't say the lecturer, they didn't say their mother or father, it's to a peer. So peer support becomes very, very important, and that's something that we're starting in our faculty already. Then just the success, our academic success is key to all of us. We all want to see our students succeeding. And one of the programs that we have is to identify our students that are at risk. And this just gives you a slight indication of some of the departments that utilized the services and the kind of support we were able to give them during the exam period. But identifying students at risk is very, very important to ensure the success of our students as they traverse their journey through academia. The next slide just highlights for you some of the difficulties that the mentors the mentees reported that they experienced. And the first one caught my attention, the fear of failing. And I'd read a quote somewhere once that said, I long for the days where the love of learning will far surpass the fear of failing. And I think as educators, that's something that we would all love to see. We don't want our students to sit in fear. There you see time management. I wrote a health blog to give students some kind of resource to go back to help them with time management. Some of the academic modules, they spoke about how overwhelmed they feel, how they struggle with some of the content. And so we know where to pitch our interventions at. And some of what I'm showing you is testament to the fact that we are a research-led faculty. We don't just do things for the sake of things. Everything we do is based on data. Okay, that's just some of it there. Then at the postgraduate level, I did the same thing. We did a needs assessment, and we looked at what are some of the key challenges that our postgraduate students are experiencing. And one of the key things that came up was funding. Students are struggling with funding, and this poses a huge risk for us because our postgraduate offerings and our targets are what's going to determine how we move forward and how our institution is going to be classified. Are we going to continue to be a research-led institution, or do we become a teaching institution? What does that mean for us in the future moving forward? And I think all of us, not just our faculty, but our entire institution needs to reflect on this. Some of the other issues that were raised by our postgraduate students centered around supervision. There were lots of problems they found with communication and responsiveness with our supervisors, and that's something that we're now designing programs around for our supervisors, and not just our emerging supervisors, because sometimes we want to dump everything on them. But those of us who are experienced, we also have our issues, we also have our difficulties, and we also need to open ourselves to learning and realize that we are all lifelong learners. And that's something also that we need to foster within our faculties, the idea that you don't start at the first and end at the fourth year, that your trajectory of learning continues throughout life. This was some of the supervisor input around what they are needing in terms of assisting and supporting them. Again, they also identify postgraduate funding as a huge issue. They spoke about the idea of students needing coaches and mentors, and we have a good collaboration going with RTPS, the research development for postgraduate studies. We have coaches assigned to our faculties, and they do phenomenal jobs. I've referred one or two of my students for Atlas TI, and they're on the ball. And so we have a very good integrated ecosystem at UWC. And I always say, support is in the eye of the beholder. You can put all the support out there, but if somebody's not willing to access and to make use of that support, it actually means nothing. Okay. Then I've just highlighted some of our learning and teaching implementation priorities and our shared interprofessional modules are very, very important because interprofessional education is very, very important in our faculty. Our students and our professionals do not work in vacuums. They do not work in isolation. When they get onto the clinical platform, they work with other health professionals, and they need to know how to interact with each other and how to deal with each other on a daily basis. I spoke about our student mental health. This is becoming key. We're integrating our student mental health, but we even want to take it further into talking about mental health within our faculty, because staff mental health is not separate to student mental health. It's all interlinked, it's all interconnected. And so we're working towards a very integrated policy and guidelines in terms of mental health. As I said, in artificial intelligence, it's not going to leave, it's here to stay. We have a task team in our faculty. We are talking about AI. Most of the AI that we are basically involved with is our language models, like your ChatGPT. How do we use AI in our classrooms? How do we use it responsibly? How do we use it ethically? And how do we demonstrate the use of AI in a responsible and an ethical way? And so it has a role in terms of formative approaches, but I think when it gets to assessments, we have to assess our students with more application-based assessments, because ChatGPT will do it for you. But what we also need to instill in our students, we still need that higher order thinking. AI has a role to play. It's a tool, but it cannot replace the human. And we cannot allow ourselves to lose our autonomy to a tool like AI. But it has a role to play. I'm not going to dispute that. Then, moving on to our learning and teaching, these are some of the activities that I will speak to: our staff capacitation, our flexible offerings, our curriculum renewal, our professional bodies, our work integrated learning, and our scholarship of learning and teaching. Again, colleagues, we have very, very good systems at UWC. We have a good ecosystem. We have programs that our staff are able to attend, to be able to capacitate them. We have the towards professionalization of learning and teaching. We have our developing our early career research program. We have our P programs. We offer supervision workshops. Right? The one area that I think we need to really start thinking about, and not just in our faculty, but in our institution, and it almost feels when I say this, I'm going to burden staff even more, it's towards the professionalization of supervision. When we supervise, we kind of throw our supervisors in at the deep end, and we expect them to know what to do. But we know it takes years to build that kind of capacity. It takes years to do what we now can do with our eyes closed. But it doesn't come easily. And it's not something that we should just expect people to know. And when speaking to our learning and teaching specialist yesterday, she was saying to me, with our current continuing professional development, that's an arena and an area where we can incorporate something like this. But again, it's not mandatory. People can choose whether they want to attend and whether they want to participate in those particular programs. Our curriculum renewal is also important. As I said, we have professional degree programs, undergrad degree programs in our faculty, all driven by professional boards and bodies, all different. So when we do curriculum renewal, we don't only have to satisfy their needs, but we have to satisfy the needs of CHE as well. And we've seen that reflected in some of our flexible offerings that we have just now passed through the CHE, and some of them which have come back for review. Then, colleagues, with regards to technology and AI, one thing that I would like to drive, and I feel very passionate about, is simulated learning. And I've seen this in private companies where they're doing VR training, immersive learning within artisan training. And it provides the space for that kind of exercising of skills, but it also provides you with a workplace, because you're actually getting on-the-job training through your immersive training. So the School of Nursing has been leading in this regard, and they have been working in AR and with VR. And they have been working with what they call the emergency trolleys. And if you watch television, they talk about a crash cart. I know that term. But anyway, the crash cart is the emergency trolley. So they're training their students through AR and VR with the emergency trolley. And so I believe that that very exercise and practice needs to be expanded to our other disciplines. If we look at doctors, if we look at pilots, they're all doing simulator training. We need to get on board now, and we need to use the technology. The one issue that's kind of a span in the work is the cost, and we know that we're working within very constrained budgets at this particular point in time. With regards to AI and robotics, the School of Nursing has just come back from the University of Missouri. They have an open source nursing program which they are using. The difficulty with some of those programs is that their content is American-based. Our metrics, our data sometimes is very different, and if you want to transfer that information to our context, you need to localize the material before you can just use it, test it for the relevance and the efficacy and the appropriateness of those technologies. Then in terms of work-integrated learning, I think we're very fortunate as a faculty. Our students on the clinical platform, they get skills every day. They work in communities where they are potentially going to work within, so they get that exposure, and they're very fortunate to have that kind of opportunity. What are the game changers I believe that we need to start looking at in our faculty? The one thing that the School of Public Health has introduced is a pre-doctoral program. And I think that program needs to be expanded to the rest of our faculty, because it really helps students to get a better sense of what the PhD program is all about, and it also helps to reduce the dropout rate that we sometimes see with our PhD students. The second thing I think is important, which is going to really come onto the agenda very soon for all of us, is to look at the issue of self-curated qualifications or micro-credentialing. And this means that a student who is at the postgraduate diploma level can take courses from different disciplines, mix it into a qualification and skills that suits their own particular needs and their own training. So that's something that we're going to have to look at as a faculty. These are some of the flexible offerings that we are currently involved with, and I just would like to tell you that our Masters in Health Data Analytics has just been approved by the CHE. So hopefully 2025 or 2026, we'll be able to introduce our Masters in Health Data Analytics, and we worked hard on this, colleagues, for the last couple of years. We have a short course at the moment in Health Data Analytics, which is part of our Pillar 7 program, and it's income generation, and now we're at the stage of our Masters in Health Data Analytics. These are some of our short courses as well that we have. Then, colleagues, with regards to research and innovation, I've worked in this portfolio for the last 4 years, and I believe that as a faculty, our biggest risk that we run is at the postgraduate level. The reason for that is that our degrees are professional degrees. After 4 years, I'm a physiotherapist, I'm an occupational therapist, why must I come and do a postgraduate degree? So this, and at the exit survey on your business intelligence tools, 37% of our graduates said they would come back for a postgraduate degree, which leaves the rest of the 70% where. So this is something, since 2020, we started marketing our postgraduate degrees and offerings, and we've had hybrid formats, we've had online formats, and on Saturday past we had our joint open day with the rest of the university. But marketing is going to become critical to what's going to happen to our programs. Our other goals that I'm very proud to announce, we've just started our Biostats Hub in our faculty. These are some of the programs we're going to be offering throughout the year. It's a hub for both staff and postgraduate students to support them with quantitative research, which we know is not always easy for students and staff to always navigate their way through. We've had quite a bit of requests coming in for assistance, but we also work very closely again with the research office, because they also have a program going for student support. But this is going to be linked to our Masters in Health Data Analytics. So we're going to bring all of that together, and hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be able to expand this to other faculties within the institution. One of our very successful programs and something that must continue is our faculty mentoring program, where we have staff who are completing qualifications, go through this training program. We've had phenomenal outcomes of staff completing qualifications and also of publications and throughput. So this program must continue. Our funding support for staff who are in our faculty, we've just completed an audit with the Deputy Director of Research and the Research Office, where we did a survey to look at what are the funding needs of staff, but not just for research projects, but for teaching relief as well. And once we've aggregated those results, we will then tailor and look at which organizations we can target in our grant writing proposals to make sure that we have funds so that we can buy our time, particularly for our emerging academics, to ground them, to help them so that they can become the academics that we would like them to become. We have to, before I get there, we have to continue to encourage our staff to apply for NRF. Oh, have I got 1 minute left? For NRF rating, and we also have to continue to monitor. Sure, colleagues, this time is really gone. Then the one important point I'd like to highlight with our Social Innovation Lab, we started it last year. I believe with our research, we have to start patenting our products that we are producing in research. Many of our things stay in journals, they stay in the library, but we have to start marketing what we do. Otherwise, what we do is actually not helpful. Let me just move on, seeing I only have one. Our focus in the faculty is on clinical and community engagement. This is what makes us unique, this is what gives us the competitive edge, and this is what puts us on the cutting edge of what we do. Because we, at the end of the day, we are able to work within the community surrounding our institution where it really, really matters. Because I don't have time, I just want to mention one thing which is very, very dear to our faculties. Yeah, for our faculty colleagues is our professionalization of our administrative staff. This is something that you hear all our administrators talking about. They're passionate about it. They are upskilling. They are working. We are talking about task shifting in our faculties, and that's something very near and dear to my heart that I would certainly carry forward. I'm sorry I ran out of time. I just got carried away. Sorry.
Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Andy Patton, and may we wish you well for the rest of the day and the interviews to follow. Thank you. Colleagues, in keeping with the program, we will bring the next candidate will start at 9:40, which, okay, let's say within 5 minutes. We've finished it, yeah, we're a little bit over time. So in 5 minutes, you could just have a 5-minute stretch until we get the next candidate in. Justine. Justine brought this. No, Justine brought this. Tell Tamima, 5 minutes up. I think we, yeah. Colleagues, thank you very much. Our 5-minute break is up. Please take your seats so that we can, while we anticipate our second candidate. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and to bid a very warm University of the Western Cape welcome to Professor Anita Padmanabhanuni. Prof. Padmanabhanuni is Professor and Head of Department of Psychology at the University of the Western Cape in the Faculty of Community and Health Sciences. Welcome, Prof, and we'd like to wish you well. You have 30 minutes. We will keep you to time. The timekeepers are here, and they'll give you a 15, 10, 5, and 1 minute warning. Best wishes to you. You may use this to advance.
Good morning, Chair, members of the SACC, my colleagues from the faculty, our students, and the broader university community. As Prof. Patha mentioned, my name is Anita Padmanabhanuni. I am a registered counseling psychologist. I'm also a professor in psychology, and I am an NRF-rated researcher. My areas of specialization include evidence-based clinical practice, psychological trauma, and building sources of resilience in individuals and communities. I'm currently the head of the Department of Psychology in CHS faculty, and I also serve on the Faculty Management Committee. And thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you today. My presentation focuses on 4 areas. I'm going to begin with my vision for CHS faculty. Thereafter, I'm going to present a situational analysis of the faculty in relation to the IOP goal areas. Now, in doing this, I want to emphasize that I deeply value the strengths and accomplishments that have defined us as a faculty. My approach is not aimed at overhauling what we already do and what we do exceptionally well. Rather, it is aimed at collaboratively building on our existing foundations. The initiatives that I envision are aligned to the faculty's strengths, and they can be integrated seamlessly and non-disruptively. Ultimately, my aim is to ensure that the faculty remains at the forefront of community and health sciences education. This is the penultimate year of the current IOP, and it's important that we consolidate our gains ahead of a new IOP. Thirdly, I'm going to present my strategic propositions for the faculty, and then I'm going to conclude with my indicators of success in relation to these strategic propositions. My vision for CHS faculty is to cultivate a faculty that will serve as a beacon of excellence in health science-focused learning and teaching, research, community engagement, and operational effectiveness, grounded in an ethics of care and committed to developing contextually relevant pedagogy and responsive curriculum that empowers graduates to succeed as ethical leaders and global citizens, ready to effect positive change in diverse communities through innovative health solutions and partnership-based community involvement. I've infused elements of the IOP in my vision. I'm sure that we are all familiar with the IOP for UWC. I've presented it as discrete areas, but we know that they are cross-cutting and that they are integrated. I'm going to begin with IOP 1 and 2, which is student experience and learning and teaching. And I'm going to start with where we stand as a faculty. So CHS faculty has niche postgraduate areas in terms of postgraduate diplomas, as well as specialized masters and PhDs. And we also have plans to expand our postgraduate offering. The faculty also has a range of student support strategies, such as the CHS Student Council, a dedicated mental health counselor, and we have an implementation plan relating to the integrated student mental health and well-being guidelines. The faculty also has diverse community and clinical engagements, and we have instrumental partnerships that are aimed at expanding our clinical training, notably our bilateral agreement with the Western Cape Department of Health, our DHET-funded interprofessional mobile clinic, as well as our plans to develop the interprofessional clinic at the Bellville Medical Center. The faculty of CHS was founded on the university's aspirations to be grounded, to be anchored in our community. And the faculty, with our 5 community engagement sites, our mobile clinic, our presence on the DOH clinical platform, as well as our membership on the MEC's Joint Advisory Standing Committee, reflects our commitment to real-world practical application and our investment in being anchored in place to the communities that we want to serve. We also, as a faculty, have staff capacity development initiatives, notably our community professional development community, which focuses on learning and teaching, as well as various short courses that focus on promoting lifelong learning among staff. My vision for CHS faculty in relation to IOP 1 and 2 is to cultivate a holistic, engaged, and socially responsible learning and scholarly student experience. I have 8 propositions for the faculty in this regard. Firstly, to operationalize and consolidate a preventative approach to mental health care. Secondly, co-curricular programs on mental wellness. Thirdly, discipline-specific alumni chapters. Fourth, a preemptive focus on the retention of final year students. Fifth, promoting evidence-based strategic planning and decision-making. Capitalizing on immersive technologies, being a leader in e-pedagogy and digital education for the health sciences, and investigating the implications of the national health insurance for curriculum and clinical practice. I'm going to discuss each of these propositions in a bit more detail, starting with the first proposition, which is related to a preventative approach to mental health care. The results from a range of data analytics studies that have been conducted globally have consistently found that the central predictor of student success is mindset. And this is over and above factors such as socioeconomic status, parental educational background, as well as first-year or generational status. And this highlights the importance of strengthening mindset to promote student success. We know as a faculty that the traditional approach to mental health care is a reactive one. It focuses on addressing symptoms after the problem has developed. I believe that CHS faculty is well equipped to spearhead campus-wide initiatives that focus on prevention as a complement to existing initiatives that focus on treatment. My proposition is the development of a mental health care hub that is housed within the interprofessional clinic that the faculty aims to generate. This would be aligned to the implementation plan for student mental health and wellness that we are part of. The main goal of the Mental Health Care Hub would be to develop targeted interventions that proactively engage and support at-risk students before mental health challenges escalate. The hub would focus on an evidence-based approach in that, based on the research in South Africa, we know that certain groups of students are at increased risk of developing mental health challenges that disproportionately impact on their academic performance. This includes first-year, first-generation students, male students from historically marginalized groups, as well as students with diverse sexual orientations. A key focus of the Mental Health Care Hub would be collaboration across campus to channel at-risk students to existing support structures. My second proposition, which would also be aligned to the focus of the Mental Health Care Hub, would be to develop co-curricular programs on mental wellness and to develop mechanisms to channel students to the DVC SDS's co-curricular activities program. There are certain benefits to having mental wellness as a co-curricular activity. Firstly, it is included in the student transcript, which can promote engagement and attendance. It's also a whole of university approach in that mental wellness then becomes embedded in the fabric of academic life. It also validates the importance of mental wellness. It's student-centered and evidence-based. My third proposition is the development of discipline-specific alumni chapters. I'm aware that alumni form part of the public profile of the university, but I've strategically included alumni here because I believe that they are important role models for our students, and alumni are tangible proof of the benefits of pursuing a higher education. They also provide networking opportunities for our students, and they can open doors in terms of job or internship placements. These chapters would also allow alumni to remain connected to each other and to the broader institution. Then a preemptive focus on the retention of final year students, which would be aligned to our focus on increasing our postgraduate enrollment. My proposition is to have seminars on career planning and professional development that are introduced early on in the student's final year of study to cultivate a strong sense of identity as a researcher and to highlight the long-term benefits of further specialization through postgraduate studies. I believe it would also be beneficial for the faculty to have a single platform online that aggregates and details the funding opportunities for disciplines in the faculty. This would mean that students have a single resource that they can be directed to, and they can be encouraged to apply early on in their final year. My fifth proposition is promoting evidence-based strategic planning and decision-making. As we know, UWC forms part of the Siyaphumelela network, and we have been recognized for advancing data-informed student success. And data analytics have certain advantages in that they can detect patterns that indicate that a student is at risk of underperforming or at risk of dropping out. They also can detect which aspects of a module are working effectively and which requires further development, and contribute to an iterative process whereby modules can be designed to promote student success. I'm aware that faculties across the university are engaged in this, and I would want to continue to support that at a faculty level, particularly for our gatekeeper modules. Then I would also propose the use of business intelligence more extensively in the faculty to increase our capacity for evidence-based decision-making and strategic planning. It would allow us to monitor our progress by tracking key performance indicators and make evidence-based adjustments to our existing approach. I am aware that certain disciplines in the faculty use immersive technology, and this is something that I would want to promote more extensively in the faculty. Augmented reality and virtual reality have transformed the way in which educational content is delivered and experienced. And it would be important for us as a faculty to leverage this to enhance curriculum, renewal as well as experiential learning. It would also help to prepare our graduates to be leaders in a technologically advanced healthcare environment. I'm aware of one university abroad that uses immersive technology to train students in the health sciences in clinical reasoning. And if I think about clinical reasoning, it's something that cuts across the disciplines in the faculty. 7 is to position the faculty as a leader in e-pedagogy and digital design for the health sciences. The COVID-19 pandemic fundamentally reshaped our perspective on the potential benefits of e-pedagogy and digital education. And it would be remiss of us as educators not to build on this foundation. I envision certification programs for staff in digital pedagogy that can help in terms of upskilling, and this would be aligned to the UWC digital transformation plans. Then the implications of the national health insurance. The NHI emphasizes primary health care, preventative measures, and community-based service, and we would need to investigate what the implications are and whether it means an increased focus on interprofessional education and on simulation-based learning. I'm going to move to IOP 3, 4, and 5, which is research and innovation, the people framework, as well as financial sustainability. In relation to a situational analysis, there are 4 SACC chairs in the faculty, 3 research chairs, and we have 23 NRF-rated researchers, the majority of whom are in the C-rated category of established researcher. When it comes to staffing, there are 172 academic and 186 professional staff. This includes full-time, part-time, as well as permanent and non-permanent staff. 51% of permanent academic staff are at the lecturer or associate lecturer level, and 12% are full professors. The faculty also has an array of staff mentoring programs and research and innovation initiatives, notably our faculty journal, the postdoctoral fellowship, the recent development of our biostatistics hub, and our pilot, which relates to the scholarship of engagement for societal impact. My vision in relation to these 3 IOP areas is to advance research excellence and innovation through a nurturing people framework and financial sustainability strategies. I have 4 propositions for the faculty in this regard. Firstly, supporting staff to attain their PhDs. Secondly, postgraduate attraction, retention, and throughput. Thirdly, promoting ethical internationalization. And 4th, advocating for open science. I'm going to detail these areas. Firstly, supporting staff to attain their PhDs. 40% of staff in the faculty do not have their PhDs, and I would assume that they're either enrolled for PhD studies or interested in enrolling. And one way to promote engagement with PhD studies is by formally recognizing it as part of the work allocation rather than something staff have to do in addition to the existing workload. This can entail setting yearly milestones for completion, and it provides a structured oversight mechanism, and it promotes personal accountability for completion. Secondly, promoting postgraduate attraction, retention, and throughput. I have 3 strategies. Firstly, exploring and developing fully online postgraduate offerings. This is particularly for postgraduate diplomas and honors programs that are heavily oversubscribed. It can increase accessibility, attract international students, and importantly, it can increase our postgraduate enrollment and support the university's goal of 30% postgraduate enrollment. One of the challenges that we experience as a university and nationally is in relation to the time to completion and students not completing within the designated time. One way in which we could address the situation as a faculty is by having the research done by master's and PhD students embedded in established research projects. This would mean that there is already an existing conceptual framework, a methodology, and resources, and it means direct exposure to research activity for our students, enhances skill development, and potentially can lead to a faster time to completion. I'm also invested in supporting communities of scholarship for master's and PhD students, and this is related to the Sibusiso Bengu Development Grant Program of the university. It is part of Project 4 that focuses on developing a postgraduate academy. These types of communities can combat the social isolation experienced by students enrolled for these degrees. It can facilitate peer motivation, and it can foster a vibrant graduate student culture. I'm moving to ethical internationalization, which is my third proposition. The international mobility of talent of students has predominantly been one-directional, from the global south to wealthier regions in the global north. Now, although this is not necessarily problematic at an individual level, at a broader structural level, it can serve to perpetuate existing inequalities. It can also be critiqued as being aligned to the colonial paradigm, where resources from the global south are seen as commodities that can be tapped in exchange for Western forms of technology, infrastructure, and particular advantages. This is in the absence of any visible link to pedagogy. From a leadership perspective, I would want to advocate for the promotion of our partnerships both in the global north but also in the global south. And this is in relation to promoting joint PhDs, which can facilitate cross-cultural experiences, increase research impact, and have career advantages for our students. It also means enhancing the mobility of master's and PhD students between SADC countries. This would balance the unilateral flow of students, facilitate regional collaboration, enhance local academic capacities, and it's aligned to the call for a higher education ecosystem in the SADC. I'm aware that the faculty is involved in certain collaborations on the African continent, and I've highlighted these regions in yellow on the map. I envision promoting the pursuit of international grants, and this is because international grants, they offer more substantial funding. The Wellcome Trust as well as the Gates Foundation grant include the health sciences. This can elevate the faculty's global profile, increase funding for master's and PhD students. One of the challenges that I've experienced with international grant applications is navigating the complex online portal and the myriad of documents that are required for submission of the grant. This is where I believe that a dedicated faculty grant writer would be beneficial in crafting compelling applications and assisting staff to navigate complex documentation requirements. To demonstrate that I'm not merely playing lip service to the notion of ethical internationalization, this is a project that I'm involved with that is funded by the Wellcome Trust, and it involves Global South partners, including myself and colleagues from Malaysia, and our Global North partners based at Oxford, Harvard, and Monash University. Fourth proposition is to advocate for epistemic justice through open science. A strong focus of the faculty is on a social justice framework, and epistemic justice is tied to this. It is linked to the decolonial agenda, and it refers to centering knowledge that is produced in the Global South in terms of curricula, learning and teaching, and research practices. Now, although it is imperative that we decolonize knowledge and we decolonize the curriculum, even if we are successful at doing that, the challenge will still remain that that decolonized knowledge and curricula will only be available to those who can afford to access it. And this is because of the high costs associated with a university education. It is also because of institutional access barriers that mean that knowledge is only available and accessible to those who form part of that knowledge community. Open science is one way of transforming the situation, and it refers to knowledge being available and accessible to anybody, anywhere, at any time. There are 12 pillars to open science, and I believe that 3 of these pillars are readily achievable by the faculty. One is open access, which involves publishing in journals that form part of the transformative agreement. These journals are open science. They also offer reduced article processing charges, or they waive these charges altogether. Then open peer review, capturing our peer reviews of research on platforms such as Publons. The benefit is that it can generate a downloadable record that can then be used for example, grant applications or promotion purposes. The university has an institutional repository, goes by the cute name of Kickapoo, and I would encourage academics to upload the knowledge that they generate onto the institutional repository so that it can be easily available and accessible to members of our community and facilitate the creation of a knowledge economy. I'm moving to the people framework, and I have two propositions for the faculty. Firstly is promoting a coherent staff support system, and this is for administrative as well as academic staff. The faculty offers a range of continuous professional development activities for academic staff, and it would be beneficial to have these activities accredited to enhance the range of these activities so as to promote engagement, and this would also benefit colleagues who are registered in the allied health professions. Then administrative staff, I would be invested in exploring interest in professional development and lifelong learning, and having particular seminars or programs accredited or certified or credentialed so as to promote attendance. This includes technological enhancement workshops, change management. Then my second proposition is a sustained health and wellness strategy, and I would support a comprehensive needs assessment of both administrative and academic staff that focuses on identifying primary stresses and preferences for support and develops these preferences for support in a way that does not necessarily add to the work allocation. I'm moving to IOP 5, which is financial sustainability. I have 4 propositions for the faculty in this regard. Firstly, the interdisciplinary clinic as a source of revenue. The clinic aims to provide services for the community. This can be on a sliding scale fee structure. Then centralized academic consultancy service. This would involve cataloging, identifying and cataloging areas within the faculty that we have expertise, and developing clear and marketable offerings such as health policy analysis or public health campaigns. The continuous professional development programs I mentioned, having them accredited and making them accessible to industry and external academics would be beneficial in having a source of revenue. Our statistics hub also can serve as a source of revenue by making workshops and seminars open to the broader public. I'm moving to IOP 8, which is leadership, governance and management. And the faculty, this is a strength of the faculty, and I've given a few examples of this. When it comes to leadership programs, the university offers a range of these, and they're also external providers of leadership training. My vision in relation to IOP 8 is to advance ethical leadership and strategic continuity, enhancing a sustainable governance framework through placemaking and sense-making. From a leadership perspective, I envision placemaking, which would involve the expansion of the Belleville Medical Center, including infrastructural upgrades to surrounds that can be driven by the community, as well as collaborating with the city. CHS faculty has a dual campus modality, a network of community placement sites and community engagement sites, and it would be important to continue to strengthen our sense of identity as a faculty and foster a cohesive faculty that transcends geographical boundaries and is unified in our pursuit of academic excellence and commitment to the communities we serve. I believe that a vision is only so good as its implementation plan. So I've provided exemplars in terms of indicators of success that can collaboratively be developed by the faculty. So I've provided the IOP area, my strategic proposition, the resources that would be required, strategic partners, as well as the indicators of success. To give you an example, with IOP 2, the development and expansion of fully online postgraduate offerings, resources required would be digital course development training, Strategic partners would be our learning and teaching specialist and CIECT. Indicators of success would be the number of courses offered online as well as our enrollment figures. Then another example is in relation to my proposition for international grants. Resources required would be grant writing workshops, a dedicated grant writer. Our strategic partners would be the Research Office and the DVC R&I. Indicators of success would be the number of applications submitted as well as success in applications. Last example is centralized academic consultancy services. The resources required would be a database of faculty experts, marketing materials, and administrative supports. The indicators of success would be the catalog that is developed, the number of consultancy contracts the faculty has secured, as well as the revenue generated from consultancy. I want to conclude with a quote on leadership that resonates with me. It states that leadership is taking responsibility for finding the potential in people, systems, and processes, and having the courage to nurture and strengthen that potential in a socially just and ethical way. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Professor Padmana Banuni. And may we take this opportunity to wish you everything of the best for the interview process that will flow hereafter.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Okay, welcome. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we are more or less on time with the program. We have about 8 minutes before the last candidate, which will be at 10:20, so you may have a short break, and we'll get going promptly at 10:20. channel. Thank you very much. Ms. Talib, are we ready? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask you to put your hands together and bid a very warm UWC welcome to Professor Mario Ricardo Smith. Professor Smith is currently professor in psychology based here in the Faculty of Community and Health Sciences at the University of the Western Cape. Prof. Smith, welcome. You have 30 minutes with the topic as given to you. The timekeepers are right here, and they are going to give you a 15, 10, 5, and 1 minute. But we will be very strict on the time, so 30 minutes. So best wishes to you. That's the clicker.
This is the clicker.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you, Prof. I feel like I'm in trouble because my full name was mentioned. To the SACC, the members of the executive, members of the faculty, SRC, and members of the university community who are watching online and those here today, thank you for the opportunity to present myself as a candidate for the Dean of the Community and Health Sciences faculty. It may seem weird that I start with a slide about who am I, but when you've been appointed at a place 3 times, and the last stint being 15 years, people think they know you. And I thought maybe I should tell you some of the things you don't know about me, but nothing dirty, nothing out of files that you shouldn't be hearing about on this platform. So I come to you today as a candidate with a depth of experience in a range of areas that I think would benefit a dean. I have administrative leadership, I've had ministerial appointments in research, I am a public health practitioner as a clinical psychologist. I've worked both in academia as well as in the public health sector. I also have been involved, and I'm almost embarrassed to say, in more audits than I would care to acknowledge on any given day. And I think this is a really important background to have, understanding the Council for Higher Education and the audit processes and how that works for quality assurance of our qualifications. And then I'm a member of 7 international consortia, all 7 of them focused on the development of doctoral studies and the professionalization of doctoral studies, and I've also involved in a number of international projects. As a research supervisor, I've graduated 106 students to date across the different levels of qualification, and I've had a lot of success in grant writing. I would like to focus your attention to the just under 4 million that I've raised in student bursaries in my individual capacity. So I think that these are some of the things that you may not know about me from the day-to-day interaction buying sandwiches in the B block. So a little bit about who Mario is. So our task was to distill a vision for the faculty for the next 5 years, based on the IOP of the 2021-2025 period. And this is what I came up with. I would like, as the dean, to position the faculty as a dynamic and collaborative community of practice, and have highlighted community of practice that establishes this faculty as a key role player in the provision of innovative, contextually sensitive, and sustainable, socially responsive solutions to healthcare and well-being challenges. All of this in pursuit of a developed South Africa, social justice, active citizenship, and globalization. So how did I come up with this? I wish it came in a dream. It came through wading through lots and lots of material and experience, and I'd like to identify 3 pillars that inform this vision. First, the context in which this faculty is charged with providing higher education and professional training. It's a context of unprecedented population growth, graduate and youth unemployment, and very concerning, migration and homelessness. We are working and preparing graduates to work in an imploding public sector. That asks us to provide more than what the curriculum and the norms and minimum standards require. We are also dealing with an increase in the burden of diseases, both life diseases of lifestyle and infectious diseases. And we have to be cognizant of how we prepare students and graduates to work with this. We are working in the context of education, higher education, and basic education challenges that we have to manage and augment. And then, of course, money, money, money. And really at this point, we are dealing with decreasing funds. We have done a lot institutionally and in terms of government interventions to address the declining research and development human resource crisis. And I think it has not been resolved. So that's the one leg, is the where are we going to? Then we have aspirational and very motivational policies and mandates. We have the Bill of Rights in our Constitution that really centralizes citizenship and equity and access. Alongside that, we have acts like the Higher Education Act, the health-related acts that try to promote equity, and we are so aware of the difference between praxis, service delivery, and the aspirational values in those acts. So this is the background against which we have to distill a vision. Then I think what is really challenging is we have the tail end of the National Development Plan and the Sustainable Development Goals. We are moving into the last 5-6 years of those goals that we have not achieved. And we need to think very carefully and very creatively how we would leverage our skills, our vehicles, our instruments to achieve those goals. Then our task was to look at the IOP for 2021 to 25, and as easy as that sounds, that leaves 1 year. And so in preparing this vision, I was cognizant of the following. One, that we need to assess what we have achieved and consolidate that. We need to assess what we haven't achieved in terms of that particular IOP and look at how we can leapfrog and make gains towards achieving that. But more importantly, CHS, you have to position yourself as we start 2025 with a new VC and a new process for the IOP 2026 to 2030, mapping onto the NDP and SDG 2030. We have to position ourselves as a faculty so that we have an imprint and a sizable footprint that can push through and look at how we develop and articulate the next IOP. So how I've presented and structured the presentation is all the slides will look like this. And so I'm just thinking of those of you who are neurodiverse and challenged. It will all look exactly the same, right? And I'd like to talk you through the structure. So the top banner will tell you the area in which I'm focusing and the goal that I've articulated. The banner, light blue banner on the left, or column rather on the left, my left, your right, I will list the IOP goals. And as I move through, I will then highlight in a different color which goal, IOP goal, my activities and my priorities speak to. So that just you can do that kind of triangulation the whole time. And then in the middle, the largest section, I will present 14 strategic goals across about 5 or 6 areas. I will try to speak to how I plan to operationalize this. I've tried to identify the risks to actualizing those goals. And I will speak to everyone in the following way. For that which we have done well and achieved, how do we consolidate that and push that into the 70% of the next IOP that is retained? How do we assess what we need to improve and factor that into the 15% for the next IOP and our work towards achieving the remainder of this IOP? And then what can we think of that's innovative, that will be new and go into the next 15%? So that's the process may change. We'll hear soon enough how that works, but that's how I've approached this. So let me start with my first strategic areas, learning and teaching, and I have a number of goals within this area. My first goal is actually student health and wellness. Now, this may sound counterintuitive, but I'm really set on this. We have to start with a healthy student. Our enrollment tells us that we don't always get a healthy student. So they may be compromised in terms of physical health. They may also be compromised in terms of the stressors that they experience both in the university environment as well as within the context, living context. So the university is both a living and learning space, and we cannot begin to imagine offering education if there isn't a healthy student. So we've done well to be student-centered. We have access as a faculty, all of the activities. You have a counselor, all of these things are in place. I'd like to consolidate that. What do I think we should improve? We should improve our students' ability to assess themselves and to be willing to access health and health services and health infrastructure. And we want to increase their ability to become good reporters of where they are at so that we can actually match services to them, and we can also provide reasonable accommodation. And so what do I propose by means of innovation? I would like to have a health profession student program for CHS, and in this program, there will be 4 key areas. Of course, there can be more, and we can add to this in consultation, but these are the 4 I'd like to prioritize. 1, self-care and health promotion. Every single CHS student needs to go through a process of learning how to do self-care and how to prioritize self-care and how to engage in health promotion. Every student must look at preventative health and the reduction of health risk behaviors. We still have too many students who are not thinking about health risk behaviors, and there are a number of new health risk behaviors, such as social isolation that comes from the increase of digital time and device time. I would like to develop a self-service screening facility, and I would draw on my experience in instrument development and this experience in the professions across the faculty to develop a quantitative measure where students can actually screen for a number of things. And you could then use that to assist students who are struggling and to link them into health services. And then I want to build the capacity for health service consumer literacy. What do I mean by this? I think of my great-grandmother who used to say, "I'm sick, I take the blue tablet." And then the neighbor would say, "I also take the blue tablet." And when they run out, they exchange their blue tablets, but it's not the same blue tablet, right? So I think of that, and now I look at our students, and actually they can't tell you what medication they take. They can't tell you their dosages. They can't engage with professional health service providers. And so I'd like to build this capacity. Then we move to student success. Again, we remain student-centered. We access and consolidate all the initiatives that we are part of through the Director of Learning and Teaching and all the initiatives that the DVC Academic and her team have pushed. So I'm not going to talk about this in detail. You all know what you've been doing here, so we consolidate that. We'd focus on retention and throughput, but the 2 things that I think are important, 1, what we need to improve is our preparedness for the world of work. Our students are graduating with the professional capabilities, but they're not ready to actually take up the position of the professional. So they have the diagnostic skills, the clinical skills, and this is an area I'd like us to work on specifically to enhance student success. I'd like to introduce compulsory CHS non-credit bearing modules. So every single student will take this, and this is where we teach them those additional skills that would prepare them to take up and be citizens. Literacy, multicultural competence, etc., etc. Quality programming. So we have a healthy student, we've got a good vehicle for taking them through, and then we need to provide good quality programming. So how do I think about this? We'll start with an evaluation of our PQM or our program qualification matrix, and we would assess basic things. Are our SACC ID numbers correct? I checked. 15% of the CHS faculty SACC ID numbers are not correct on SACC website. We need to check these things so that we ensure that we are completely and accurately reflected. Then strategic curriculum review, what do we need to tweak to position our students? And then there's a number of new programs that the faculty has already developed and that's underway. I understand from my tracking of the faculty that the Masters in Informatics has been approved or accredited, and then there's also the Diploma in Sports Admin, and so we'll look at those initiatives and move them forward. I'd like to propose one innovation, and this is an MBA, a Masters in Business Administration with a focus or specialization in health management. If we can leverage the 2 research chairs that we have in public health, in health systems complexity and health systems, and we can leverage the disciplinary knowledge, then we can offer a vertical articulation for all our graduates into an MBA that enables them to work as health service managers. We also provide vertical articulation in that way, and they would be able to go up into a doctorate in business administration. This, I think, could be a strategic game changer for the faculty. Then the faculty has professional programs, and so there's a goal specifically around professional programs. Again, I want to talk about strategic alignment with norms and standards. We want to talk about preparedness to enter the health sector. All of these we would consolidate, and we're doing well on these particular outputs. What is the innovation? What is the improvement? I'd like to improve the graduate that we produce. At the moment, we are producing nurse practitioners, psychologists, social workers, and they register. But often, they are lost to postgrad because they are not scholar clinicians. They are clinicians. And when they do eventually down the line, 10 years, 5 years, decide to come back and pursue postgrad, they have to do so much work to re-enter into the research thinking. And so I'd like to centralize and embed in our existing professional programs a better way, and we'll do this collaboratively, a better way to strengthen this research understanding and the understanding of the empirical basis of our practice, so that when they articulate into masters, they have more skills and it's not such a big gap. But it's moving away from practitioners to scholar clinicians. I would like to add a specific intervention. Some of our professions have board examinations. We have had great success in most, and there are 1 or 2 where the success has not been optimal. And so I think this is important. Why do I think this is important? Often I've heard in the faculty that we say, but we prepare them. They are practitioners. They should pass the board exam. What we are not tracking is the board exam. 70% of the board exam consists of statutory requirements and not clinical requirements. And we don't have enough time in our curriculum to actually teach the laws, the acts, the statutes that govern your practice. So if we have a module, and for now I'm calling it a module, that our graduates would take either in the final year or just after graduating, that is specifically board examination preparation. This could also become an adjunct, on the one hand, to our quality program, and on the other hand, it actually becomes a marketable third stream income, because graduates from other universities could also enroll for these courses. And then, of course, we need to think about entrepreneurship and training so that we address the issue of graduate unemployment. Quality postgrad taught courses, we have, you would notice a shift here. I'm still in the learning and teaching focus area. Historically, we think about our postgrad course taught courses, honors and masters, structured masters, as just sitting with postgrad and sitting there for under research, and we miss the quality assurance of learning and teaching. And so I would like to formulate a strategic goal around quality assuring the learning and teaching practices for taught postgrad programs. All the other things are fairly standard. We would reduce the time to completion. The 2 innovations for me, one is that we have a wonderful chart of graduate attributes, but I have learned through our audit processes that our staff think that that is synonymous with undergraduate. And so I'd like to have 2 processes. One, a process of engagement where we think about the chart of graduate attributes in relation to postgrad, and a process where we think about where the postgrad attributes need to be differentiated. and include in that professional attributes. So we have to engage with that more specifically. Then AI applications, I'd like to leverage the digital chair that the faculty has in digital health, and to look at the development of both research and teaching innovations that harness the capabilities of AI. In addition to that, we need to teach students how to use it appropriately. We need to engage then with our assessment practices so that we can track how we manage that. I need to speed up a little bit, I think. Then we have quality research in postgrad studies. I'm now moving to my second area, which is research. Here, I want to focus your attention on two things. One, I want to create a community of practice for postgrad students. If we can reduce the isolation that postgrad students experience at all levels of enrollment, we would make headway. And within that community of practice, we would then provide a number of transferable skills training, interventions, etc. The second thing I'd like to do is to centralize the postgrad life cycle. Now, the postgraduate life cycle is a way to conceptualize postgrad education, and the research in particular. This has a life cycle approach. It has a coherence to it, and it offers 6 nodes. And at each of these nodes, there's an opportunity to evaluate and assess the student. And so I'd like to centralize that. Now, I want to challenge you very quickly. My biggest criticism of the faculty at this stage is that, and by extension the university, is that we conceptualize master's and doctoral training incorrectly. For the doctoral student, the master's student, their sole experience of postgrad work is the relationship with the supervisor. We forget the student is enrolled in a program. And so I would like to move the faculty to really generate and revive and infuse program committees who will hold that sense of you being part of a program. In this way, we support the supervisor and the student, we strengthen governance, and we can actually work better with retention so that we reduce our vulnerabilities and we provide greater access to resources. The next innovation around supervision, there's a lot that can be said here. We've had a lot of discussions about models, etc. I personally don't believe that models of supervision is the conversation we should be having. What we should be having is the evaluation of supervision. We are students for progress reports, but there's no opportunity for the student or a supervisor to evaluate the praxis and to then either leverage the good practice or enhance the areas of development. And so I already have a PhD student who is in his second year of enrollment, who is developing a protocol for evaluation of supervision. And so this is how I would bring that particular research interest of mine in to strengthen supervision. We want to expand the research footprint. This faculty has done really well. When I look at the work we've done, there are 2 big areas. One is learning and teaching research, or the scholarship of learning and teaching within professions. The second one is that there's a lot of work done around particular syndromes. But what we're not doing as a health sciences faculty is clinical research. And so I would like to strengthen that and push that a little bit. Obviously, the others you can read for yourself. They logical, it's a consolidation of what we do. My innovation that I propose is that we go beyond the individual niche area and we identify complementary niche areas. For example, I've been doing a lot of work around executive functioning, but can we take the knowledge on executive functioning and now apply that to learning and teaching? In physiotherapy, we're asking people to self-manage, but if they don't have executive functioning, it's not going to work. So I think this is a missing link in the motor-cognitive junction that we have not infused in our research, and until we do so, I don't think our research will truly be competitive. And so I would want to think of this as a complementary niche that applies across areas. Funding and subsidy, money is dwindling. So we need to think about how we're going to leverage other opportunities and how we are going to recognize research as a stream of income to offset the dwindling funds in the institution. those are self-explanatory. I'm not, in the interest of time, going to go through it. Then I want to talk about the next area, which is community engagement. The faculty has done well over time to move into a very detailed and scholarly form of community engagement, and there's a culture of community engagement, which I'd like to consolidate. I would like to say that we need to improve our knowledge translation, and so I would like to actually speak to students and staff around the process of developing dissemination strategies that will promote knowledge translation. And then I do think we need to improve in terms of our writing and publication around scholarly engagement to move beyond the kind of clinical engagement that we've had. And then I don't think we're determining impact. So again, this is the innovation. Moving forward in the next 5 years, how can we measure our impact from an engagement point of view? My next goal in engagement is an oversight that I think we've had, and it's an oversight in conceptualization. So we've worked well with boards. We've tolerated their whims and fancies. We've kept our programs accommodated. I've just come through a very terrifying program amendment process, and terrifying only because the board wants it, not because the process is difficult. But this is what I think we need to do. We need to expand our understanding of community engagement and of communities. I'm challenging the faculty to conceptualize the professional community, and that includes boards. And so can we develop an engagement strategy for professional communities where we engage in representation on these boards, where we're able to do the knowledge translation of our research? And I think the innovation would be to develop a CPD program that also would become third stream income. Then the staff academy. This is over about 3 slides, and I have 5 minutes left. But I would like to centralize all the staff development into what I call a staff academy, and I'm going to just talk you through very quickly through the 7 nodes I have. Again, after consultation, there may be more, there may be less, but this is what we want to do. First, I want us to focus on scholarship, and scholarship across these areas. We're already doing learning and teaching quite well, but I'd like to add the scholarship of supervision, clinical and research, the scholarship of professional training, and the scholarship of research. This is research and scholarship that focuses on process, the process of education, rather than the outcome of education. Then career management and planning, health and wellness, colleagues, our occupational stress index we need to look at, the sources of stress, how we cope, all of that, it speaks for itself. There would be space for transferable skills training. There's a wide bouquet of possibilities. We would link into the HR processes. I would like to add 2 things specifically. That's digital literacy and empowerment, and academic citizenship. Then professionalization of support staff. There needs to be particular training around that. Mentoring would continue. And then this is the new thing I'd like to add. I'd like to add a module or training for the faculty, all members of the faculty, around governance. We need to understand how the university works. We work in this faculty, like most faculties, on a rotational basis. When it's your turn, you go to Committee X. What I'd like to do is introduce a your turn intervention that helps people to understand how everything works, what representation entails, what does it mean to be a rep, how do you work, what is done where, so that we have an integrated sense of how the university functions, how we report to external and internal auditory processes, okay? Oh, not auditory, auditing processes. Now what this does is this is not an exercise in step-fit wives where we all come and we say, no, this is the steps. It's an exercise in academic citizenship, because I don't want faculty members to say the university does X or the university does Y. We are the university. We are part of the university. And so if we are to be active citizens and engage in the running of this university, then we have to understand the governance model. And then human capacitation is my next area. With the people plan, I would look at the obvious things like succession planning, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to actually speak about this in great detail because my time's running out, but this would be largely a consolidation of what we have been doing. what I'd like to highlight is the career development process, which would become part of our nurturing process. Then our quality learning and working spaces. I'd like to look at our physical infrastructure. I have a colleague in the psychology department who really takes a lot of time to talk about the cracks in the walls and the missing tiles, etc. But you know what? This impacts the quality of our work. And so as the Dean, I would like us to think about this in the context of dwindling funds. Space planning, public-private partnerships will be important to leverage external funds and CSI funding to achieve some of the deferred maintenance, etc. And then very important, at the Bellville campus, we cannot be okay to be a faculty of community and health sciences when there are people queuing from 5 a.m. in the morning in winter to collect DSD grants, and there are vendors selling fruit on a pavement reeking of urine. Right? We cannot be okay to say this is a stinky house, because that is not the issue. The issue is Bellville is poorly planned. There are no public toilets. So how do we as a faculty do knowledge translation and engage with the municipality to actually improve and regenerate the area so that we impact the very space where we find ourselves physically? Okay, last one, is that time? Is it time? Okay, that's time. 1 minute, okay. I'd like to propose a faculty rehab practice. I know there are foot plans underfoot, but here, this is what I want to say. I'm going to be very bold. Not only is this an opportunity for third stream income if it's done well, but it is an opportunity for recruitment. We struggle to recruit health professionals because of OSD, occupational specific dispensation. So if we offer them a faculty practice where we cover the overheads of the practice and they get a portion of the proceeds, this becomes a good recruitment process. Over and above that, it's an opportunity for clinical research, and I'm going to be very bold. I see Prof. Lavak at the back. Joint appointments. We need to negotiate in our bilateral agreements that our faculty practice actually becomes the service rendering requirement for joint appointments. That, I think, I'm saying I'm being very bold because this is a difficult process, but I think we should do that. I'm going to stop there and say, academic citizenship is what I'd like to add to the pot. I've looked at the last 5 deans and what their legacy projects were. And I believe that if I'm given the opportunity, I can add my little bit to take us incrementally further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Smith, and we'd like to wish you well for the next part of today, the interviews this afternoon. Good luck. So there are questions.
Oh, okay.
The questions are being emailed, and when you get to SACC, okay, the questions will be posed there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best wishes. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, be reminded then, all of you who would like to pose questions, ensure that they are emailed to registrar at UWC, and you may email them until 11:50 today. Please ensure if you're emailing a question that you indicate to whom you would like the question to be posed, either somebody specifically or maybe all the candidates as you wish. Thank you very much for attending, ladies and gentlemen, and we will move now to process 14.